Ah, the clash of old and new worlds. Picture this, a continent of rich forests and open plains, where battles were fought with bows, arrows, and war clubs, until a game-changer arrived in the form of European firearms. But how did Native Americans go from wielding traditional weapons to firing guns with deadly precision? Buckle up, because this story is one of adaptation, strategy, and survival. When Europeans landed in the Americas in the late 15th century, they brought more than just horses and smallpox. They also brought firearms. At first, guns like matchlocks and arquebuses were slow, loud, and not much more accurate than throwing a rock. But they were terrifyingly unfamiliar to Native Americans. The psychological impact alone made these weapons seem like tools of the gods. Native American tribes didn't get their hands on guns right away. European colonists were reluctant to arm indigenous groups, fearing uprisings. But as trade networks grew, firearms became commodities, just like beads, blankets, and metal tools. The French and Dutch were the first to trade guns with Native Americans, especially during the fur trade boom of the 17th century. Tribes like the Iroquois quickly realized the value of guns in warfare, and when they got their hands on them, oh boy, things got spicy. Enter the year 1609. French explorer Samuel de Champlain, armed with muskets, allied with the Huron and Algonquin tribes against their rivals, the Mohawk. This is one of the first recorded instances of Native Americans using firearms in battle. The Mohawk warriors, decked out in traditional armor made of wood and leather, were confident as they charged into battle. But Champlain and his allies had other plans. Armed with muskets, they unleashed a thunderous volley. The Mohawk had never seen or heard anything like it. The loud explosions, the smoke, and the armor-piercing lead balls shattered their formation. The Mohawk fled in disarray, leaving behind the first casualties of this new kind of warfare. Champlain's victory wasn't just a win for his allies, it marked the beginning of a transformation in Native American warfare. As firearms became more accessible, tribes adapted quickly. The Iroquois Confederacy, in particular, became one of the most heavily armed native groups, using guns obtained through trade with the Dutch. This sparked an arms race among neighboring tribes. The battles of the Beaver Wars, mid-17th century, saw tribes like the Iroquois using firearms to dominate their rivals. They didn't just learn how to shoot, they mastered guerrilla tactics, ambushes, and mobility, making their gun-wielding warriors a force to be reckoned with. Other tribes followed suit. The Comanche, famous for their horsemanship, added guns to their arsenal, creating a lethal combination of speed and firepower. Tribes like the Apache and Sioux also became adept at using firearms in their skirmishes against settlers and rival tribes. Unlike European soldiers who fought in rigid lines, Native Americans integrated firearms into their hit-and-run tactics. Guns became a complement to bows and tomahawks, not a replacement. They valued mobility and stealth over brute firepower. However, guns came with drawbacks. Early firearms were slow to reload and prone to misfires, especially in the humid climates of the Americas. Ammunition shortages were another issue, as tribes depended on European traders for gunpowder and bullets. But native ingenuity came into play. Warriors began crafting their own ammunition and modifying muskets to suit their needs. The introduction of firearms didn't just change Native American warfare, it reshaped the power dynamics of the continent. Tribes with access to guns gained a significant edge over their rivals, while those without firearms found themselves at a disadvantage. However, this reliance on European weapons had a dark side. As tribes became dependent on the gun trade, they were drawn into colonial conflicts. The French and Indian War of 1854 to 1763 is a prime example, where native alliances and rivalries were exploited by European powers. By the 19th century, guns had become a double-edged sword for Native Americans. While they allowed tribes to resist colonial encroachment more effectively, they also made them targets for destruction. The U.S. government, fearing armed uprisings, implemented policies to disarm native populations. Today, the story of Native Americans and firearms is a testament to their resilience and adaptability. From the first musket shots at Lake Champlain to the armed resistance of the Plains Wars, native tribes used guns not just as weapons, but as tools of survival in a rapidly changing world. And let's not forget the irony. What started as a European advantage quickly became a native strength. It's a reminder that history isn't just about who invents the tools, but how those tools are used. So, next time you hear the crack of a gunshot, think back to that moment in 1609 when the old world met the new. The sound wasn't just an explosion, it was the beginning of a transformation that would echo through history. And let's be real, somewhere, Samuel de Champlain is probably still patting himself on the back for bringing a musket to a wooden armor fight. Well played, Sam. Well played.